Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about not knowing stuff. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, should software developers not be feel afraid of being vulnerable and admitting that they don't know something? Well, this is one of those things where you sort of go, well, duh. It's okay to not know something, but the problem is that that is similar to saying to people that you know that we should all just love each other, and killing is bad and stealing is bad and so forth. It's something that you can say until our species evolves to the next stage, and people will still not get it right, because I can tell it's something I actually say on a conscious basis, because I have these conversations about 1,000 times when there's a new junior who joins the teams that I work in, where their insecurity and fear of fucking up and so forth and so forth is so high that there's nothing you can do. It's really just like it's sort of the swimming thing, right? You have to throw them in the water and then just be there and let them figure out how to swim. They're going to be scared shitless the entire time until they realize that this isn't so bad. And the only thing you can really do is wait and try to be supportive. And so I actually say out loud to when I see that my junior software developers, usually at the very least, when they don't know something, I say, I know that this is scary for you, and I know that I can say this, and it's probably not going to make a damn lick of difference to you, but it's okay to not know this. If you are unsure, because you usually hear the stuttering and so forth come when I ask a question, and that basically means, usually at the very least, that they start getting evasive and like sort of like fluffy about the answer. They can't really answer it, and then I sort of put them out of their misery immediately. That's what I usually do, and then I do this thing. You can't just jump in and start telling them their business, but what's best I've found is to, as I said, just first open with, I understand that this might be something that is a little bit unclear or so forth, and I understand that you might feel like you have to know this stuff, but that's okay. You don't have to know everything. This is how it works. So you first kill off any notion of that you just did a bad thing because you didn't know something, and then you go into solution mode and you actually teach them, or you try to explain to them how something works or so forth, or you try to help them by saying that, hey, maybe this is a little bit unclear. If you do this and that and you go and read this and that, maybe this is something that will be more clear, for example. So the problem is that, as I was saying, I can say to this person that you shouldn't be afraid of not knowing something. And what is it that they say? A person who asks and is a fool for a second is a fool for a minute or something, and a person who never asks is a fool for life, or something similar to that. And that is absolutely true. It's just that it's exactly as I said. It's a human problem. You do not want to feel stupid. I think that if you think that being overweight is taboo, or like you being this or that is taboo, I don't think that there is anything in human society that is more taboo than being stupid, or being called stupid, or feeling stupid, because our entire species, like all of that we are, is practically based on our intelligence. Right? That's like the foundation of our entire society. So being dumb, well, nobody is dumb, because or that nobody wants to feel dumb. It's a very sensitive topic, and so there is nothing you can say, I think, to fix that. But I agree, like, you shouldn't be afraid of it, and that's really down to personal security. Once you get to a point where you sort of understand that it's hilarious for you to try to pretend like you know everything and so forth, you start relaxing more and more. Some people at the very least do, and some people do not. It's, as I said, it's down to personal security. I started letting go of this a few years ago, and I started letting go a few. It came sort of in the same instance when I started realizing how parents, in the sense, must feel when they're, when they go from being, superheroes in their kids' eyes to just being that person who gives them money and food. Where like the kids stop looking at you as this person who knows everything and so forth and so forth, and they just start looking at you as more of a, as I said, like something different. I had the same thing with a junior I was training a few years ago, where when they first started, they looked at me as, the person who knew everything, and I had a certain level of pride. I felt flattered that they were looking up to me and so forth. It's the same phenomenon I noticed in myself when I was a martial arts teacher, and I was also actually not a youth counselor, but I used to work with teenagers and so forth. And the problem is that when you're a little bit older and you're emotionally insecure, or you're prone to flattery and things like that, you're forgetting that you put yourself, and I've seen this with a lot of older people who work with kids, the kids adore you because you are, you are more mature, you're older, etc., etc. The problem is that your primitive brain can't figure out that this adoration is just something that you're getting because you are in an arena where you are, in many cases, superior to the others. Like, as an example, if you are a cool new uncle or something like that, you try to be the kid's friend or something like that. It's really only because you are breaking sort of their mold for what an older person should be all about, and so you're getting that adoration. And the same thing goes for me when I deal with a junior. They think that I know everything because I know all the things about the stuff that they are learning right now. But then when they've learned that, and there's more stuff, and I don't know that stuff, that facade that I'm perfect, it breaks. And if you can't deal with that as an adult, it is a little bit detrimental to your ego, and some people can never really let that go. And I work with people like that, where they are so in love with the image that they have created, that they are flawless or that they are experts, etc., etc., that they will defend it because it's so important to them to be the expert or to be the smart person and so forth and so forth. And so I recommend to anybody who has that problem to, do yourself a favor. Put yourself in situations where you have to seem dumb to other people. I've done that a few times for fun with my juniors, where I actually add something that is not nice to my own code, just to see if my junior is going to call me out on it. If they don't, I will mention it to them. Why didn't you tell me that this thing here, like I forgot a log statement or stuff like that? Why didn't you say anything? And then we have a conversation and we start talking about values and egos and things like that. So they start understanding that I am just as flawed as they are, and if I make a mistake, they have to be able to tell me that I made a mistake, because if they don't, then we ship something that is broken into production, and I can't be perfect, so they have to help me. So what I want you to take away from this is that, yes, I think that on average you shouldn't be afraid to admit that you don't know things and so forth, but as I said, the sad fact is that you're probably going to feel that way anyway. Sort of like saying, don't be scared. Cool, let's get right on that. It's not something that's going to come easy, and some people never get to that point. But all I can say is that I've always found that it is better for you to get to a point where you, as I like to say, you're emotionally okay with whatever happens, if that makes sense. Because the thing that some people don't really understand, I think, about having an aura of humbleness is that just because you don't know something and you admit that you don't know something, that doesn't mean that people forget all the times you've been right. The problem comes when you're right so often that you make a rule out of it, and then when you're wrong, which will happen, you try to force things, or force the idea that you know things, and you try to dismiss other people, because some people are, if you tell other people that they're wrong when they're actually right, just to defend your own ego, all that's going to happen is that you're going to be perceived as arrogant. But if you are wrong and you show grace when you are wrong, people will still think that you are smart. I promise you. Because if you're right 100 times and you're wrong once, and you never ever make a deal out of it, people kind of just shrug and go, oh, okay, yeah, Frederick was wrong this time. Yeah, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's just move on. They're not even going to think about it because you're right so often. But as I said, if you do it the other way, they're going to take personal enjoyment from that you were wrong. And that, my friend, when you get into that space, that's when people get really territorial and egomaniacal and so forth and so forth. So the quicker you can get to a point where you're feeling fine with just being wrong, I think that you will start to see that it's not that big of a deal if you know how to deal with it. Have a great day.